Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another FIFA 22 video where today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my key tips to defending and hopefully helping you guys get better at defending for those of you that are struggling at defending. We've got some very quick and easy tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today along with some good gameplay illustrating a lot of those tips. So without further ado, going straight into it without wasting any time, going into the keys to defending. And these are really the only things that, in my opinion, you need to really know about defending. Now, in terms of positional attackers, I would always recommend you need to use them only to press from the front. Don't use attackers to come back and defend, because the simple concept is a lot of people bring their attackers back to defend for them, and it means that obviously you've got more bodies back. However, what you don't remember is if you do win the ball back, now you've got no one up front to push up the field. You've got no players up the front. Very easy for your opponents to suffocate you in and press you in and push you in, and then eventually that pressure is going to tell and then they're going to get a goal. With your midfielders, make sure you always try and cover the passing lanes again. And defenders, make sure you're always tracking runners first before you go and potentially press people. Now, one thing to remember with these three is make sure you don't mix and match. So, for example, don't track runners with attackers. Don't cover passing lanes with defenders. Make sure you do these things and make sure that it's only this group of players that do these things, and you will see a massive improvement in the way you defend. Also, make sure you try and avoid and don't ever yank defenders out of position, and make sure you're always tracking the runners first before you begin to maybe press a midfielder. Make sure you're always tracking that runner first. Make sure they run offside. Make sure that's dealt with before you then think about going to potentially press a midfielder. Now, going into some of our clips here, and we've got a lot of clips illustrating a lot of these things, and we've got one example that we're going to pause on, we're going to talk about. But defending is not too difficult. Now, people may ask, how do I defend? You know, is there a specific way to defend? Now, one thing to talk about straight away, player switching in this game is very, very inconsistent. I still suffer with this all the time, especially if you switch, and I would recommend switching with the stick. Sometimes you'll be in your midfield, like I'll be in my midfield with Verratti. I'll press the right stick across, try and switch over to Verratti, to Fofana, and it will switch me to the right back. It's just something that happens. Player switching in this game isn't very good, and it's not very accurate, so it's something you've got to try and just deal with your best. There's no secret to doing it. I'd recommend just using the right stick switching and just kind of like persevere with it, because it is not the best system. But you know, when it comes to defending, it's not too difficult. As long as you follow a lot of the tips that we've shown on that first screen, it's very, very simple. You know, as long that you're doing, that's most of it. That's 90% of it. Yes, there's some more specific things. Here's that example we want to talk about. Now, this might look like a lot of lines and a lot of boxes and a lot of arrows just kind of pointing to nowhere. But to basically sum it up, you can see on this counter attack here, our midfields, we've just been in attacking position and we've obviously turned the ball over. Now, we've got Verratti, you can see, is linked to that midfielder that's slightly ahead of him. Our right centre-back, Marquinhos, is linked to his right attacker. Our left centre-back, I don't know who it is. I think it's Varane is linked to the left centre-back. And we've got PK, who is free. Now, in this situation, we've got a 4-on-4. You know, if you include Mendy at the top, we've got a 5-on-4. So we have got the numbers advantage on our side. So in this position, you can be more aggressive. Now, one tip to note is a lot of people are very aggressive and they jump into tackles with defenders. And you're going to see us do that here with PK. We're going to jump in with our defenders. Now, one of the big tips when it comes to being aggressive, you can be more aggressive if you have the numbers on your side. A lot of people might be 2-on-2 and they go and try and dive into a tackle. They get it wrong. Now it's 2-on-1. You're going to concede guaranteed. In this situation, you can see we're 5-on-4. So we've got the numbers, and the two strikers on his side are going to be trying to look to get out to the wing where the space is. So he's going to take a big touch forwards, and we, as you can see, we do obviously preempt that he's going to take that big touch forwards, and then you can see that we get in there with PK and we are aggressive and win the ball, and it maintains our attack. Now, it's only in these situations when you have the numbers advantage you can be more aggressive. So the more numbers you have, the more aggressive you can be. You can see a good example there of us pressing with the front, pressing with Chiesa, pressing with I think it's Gelson Martins up front, winning the ball back. So making sure that you've got those numbers advantage on your side. And again, another example here, making sure we track the runner first before we go to press. And PK, I think it's PK that deals with it. And from that, from us tracking the runner, from us defending properly, not doing anything fancy. You can see we're just doing a lot of simple things, nothing too fancy, and it yields in us getting the goal. Obviously, then it comes down to the attacking. We will have a video coming soon, very similar to this one on breaking down attacking and how you can do it very simply. But you can see just very simple counter attacks, very simple things. Again, we do obviously the same thing there. We make sure we track the runner first. head it back with Marquinhos, and then I believe, again, another example here, I do think we get forwards and get another goal again. So just a very simple bit of defending, but very effective because of the way that we do. You know, great ball roll scoop there from Pogba. And then Galano is just able to run through his whole defense. You can see he doesn't make any attempts to tackle us. And then we just obviously get the very, very easy goal. So defending is not too difficult in this game, as long as you do a lot of the basics that we suggested. Making sure that you don't mix up the jobs, making sure that as well, if you can use second man press, but I wouldn't recommend using that. It's a bit more of an advanced technique. So I wouldn't recommend, if you are someone who is struggling, a bit more basic, I wouldn't recommend doing second man press, because unless you can do it right, it will yield in more problems than more solutions. So making sure you obviously just do the basics, don't jump into tackles, making sure as well when you're in the midfield, when you're trying to obviously cover the passing lanes, making sure you're pressing that left trigger to jockey, just allows you to move from side to side a little bit quicker. Trying as well when you're defending in tight spaces, especially on the wing, on the edge of your box, try and make sure, it's a bad habit to get out of, I know I've been there, make sure you release the sprint button. Don't do sprint jockeys, because that can really be quite tricky to defend, especially against high quality opposition, and especially against players like Vinicius, Neymar, Messi. If you're doing the sprint jockey, if you're holding the left trigger and the right trigger at the same time, it's going to get you in a lot of trouble. So making sure you just do the basics and just do a lot of the things we've suggested here today, and your defending will improve massively. Because other than this, there's not really much more to it. Yes, there's a few more advanced things when it comes to sort of second man pressing and things like that. There are more advanced techniques. But in terms of the basics, we've covered pretty much all the basics you need to know when it comes to defending here today. So hopefully these tips, and hopefully you've seen in our gameplay and seen the way that we are defending, you can take some of these things away and add them to your game, and hopefully you'll become a better defender yourself. But that is it for today's video, guys. So if you did find it useful, if you did find anything in here that you maybe need some help on, do let us know down in the comment section. We'll do our best to get back to you as quick as we can. If you do enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.